Hello everyone. So in this video, I'm going to retry the ring world and use displacement for the detail instead of using real geometry. So I'm going to model the base mesh, create the details using a primitive plane, and then bake that detail into a texture using Gribble Bake, and then apply that as displacement to our base mesh. So let's use cylinder and rotate it to the side or the x-axis and wait a minute, the y-axis. So y-axis is the back and front in Blender, and the x-axis is the side. Delete these faces. So I forgot to increase the resolution of this when I was adding the the mesh. So all of this also have like its own redo panel. So cylinder, you can press F9 or click this and then increase the resolution. So what we're going to do is select these edges here and then W and then press S to subdivide. So we're just going to apply it once and then loop tools, circle. So loop tools, you can just, it comes packaged with Blender and you can just uh, download it from the extensions and then enable it to use it. You can find it in the W specials menu in edit mode. Okay, now to give thickness to these faces, we're going to use Control F and then press S to solidify or click on it, and then F9 to bring out the redo panel or redo properties of that operation, and just increasing the thickness. So I'm not going to add more edges here. I want the faces to be uh, squarish and at the same area, using the same area. So this is not exactly square, but at least most of the faces in this side or area is at the same size, and also this one here. Okay, so just a really basic base mesh, and then I'm going to create a plane, and I'm going to use asymmetry to create the detail, and I'm just going to create or add just random edges to affect the randomization. So random panels, actually let's use random loop extrude, 3 loops radial, 3 loops walk, I think square, we're going to use square. And that creates 3 loop objects. The way random loop extrude works is that this first column is the first loop object, the second one is the second loop object, and so on. So these values here go like that and represents the different loop objects that you can add, and the maximum is 5 and the minimum is 1, and you can toggle uh, the number of loop objects you want to add right here. You can just click to add individual loop objects, or shift and click to add multiple, and then shift and click to remove multiple. using the same hotkey. Okay. So again, this is the UI have changed because this is planned for the next update, and but basically the parameters are the same, so just look for it. So increasing the subdivision. You can also use like panel cut for this. Oh, not panel cut. Random panels instead of random look extrude. And we're just going to, or I'm just going to play around with the randomization. And this works kind of like random panels, but of course the amount of randomized mesh is being stacked together. So inset depth, and I'm going to go to inset thickness and probably set this to 0.003. I'm then going to copy this value using Control C by hovering the mouse cursor over the parameter, Control C, and then I can copy it to the other loop objects. Okay, and we're going to go to the panel size and probably use like 10. Or something like 5. Then increase the subdivision. Okay, panel size. Let's go for 7. And set this to 80. This is the ratio, the amount of faces that's going to be used for the randomization. So 10%. So 10% of the selected faces that's subdivided is going to be used for the randomization. So 80%, we're going to use 80%. And we should still here. Oh, I changed the UI. And also loop subdivision. Change it as well and bring the subdivision parameters into their own sections. Okay. Let's set the depth value something higher. Okay, so something like that. And then I'm going to add other details. This one, selecting the faces that have the same plane. So go ahead and download the ProSelect add-on in my Patreon, and you can do this. Control Alt Shift. Okay, listen. There we go. In object mode, and selecting all the faces, all the top faces. All the faces that have the same planar value, and then add like random panels on top of that. So basically, we're layering the detail, and I can still remove this if it proves too high. Okay, I will set this as flat, shade flat. There we go, and then selecting our plane again, and I'm going to create like a bunch of tubes using random tubes and setting the using the 0.100 high offset. So I'm going to use the subdivision. So I haven't gone into random tubes yet to change the UI, but I will be soon. Okay, change the offset. Where's the this is not it. I think it's the depth. So as you can see, even I can get confused sometimes. So I think the changing of the UI is actually merited. Okay, bevel and width, and then something like 10 for the max length. And we have margin to basically squeeze it towards the center. So the baking of the pipes will be much better. So subdivision, just increasing subdivision. Okay. And the offset and the bevel or the thickness, might have to rename some of these properties to make them obvious. So we have, this probably should be size. Oops, it's not it. The width. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. 200 or 300. There we go. Mhm. Just gonna save this ring world. Save. Okay. Now let's convert the pipe into a mesh and bake this. Selecting all of the mesh. Go into Grable Bake, and go into images. Set bake the displacement, the AO. The AO is just going to use. Let's just use 16, and it's probably gonna take a while. Even with 16 samples, it's going to take a while for the AO to work. So, but we can wait. Origin point. Let's leave it at that. Select the bake origin. We're going to use the plane as the bake origin, and also is going to use its origin point as the zero plane for the displacement, meaning zero as black, and the texture will go whiter as the height of the uh, geometry becomes higher. So basically, this is our 0 point, this little orange spot here, or that is the origin point of the plane object or mesh. And as the geometry that is being baked goes higher, the the pixels gets lighter, okay, or brighter. Um, Margins is 4, and bake to last images. Pack images always have this checked on because if you don't, the textures can sometimes go black. So unless you pack the baked images, so basically it saves it in the Blender file, and then after that, if you press Control S, that will really save the images into the blend file. And when you open it up again, the blend file or the blend scene, the texture will be there even if you haven't saved it outside Blender. Okay. So bake. It's just we'll name this ring world. Okay. Bake. So sometimes you just have to wait because the more resolution and the more object that you have selected for the baking, the more time the baking process will actually will actually take. So ring world AO, ring world displacement, and ring world normal map. So we're going to use that for this and save. So these images are packed. So packed images have this icon here, which is the box icon that's like there's folder on top of it. Okay, so uh, we can either use the um, displacement geometry, this no, displacement modifier, not displacement geometry. But in this case, I'm just going to use the shader for the um, displacement, meaning that we cannot see the displacement in the viewport, but once we viewport render it, then we can see the displacement or render it. Okay, so I'm going to use the just the basic um, shader from the open materials. So this is going to be our flow metal. Let's just hide this. And I'm going to change the HDRI. There we go. So in the shader here, we're going to go to displace settings and set the displacement to this displacement only, meaning that it will displace the geometry. If you set it to bump, it will only act as a bump texture, and displacement and bump. So it will displace the geometry and also bump the texture like the normal bump. Okay, so let's delete this. Control T. We're going to use uh, the displacement as the color. So just the basic temporary color. If you don't have it, you can use the displacement. Then the actual displacement of the geometry. And in vector, select this and set it to height, sentiment level to 0, and set this to something like 0.25. I think this is going to be pretty big or powerful, but let's start with something high and then adjust it to something lower later. So actually let's set it to 0.4. And then the AO we're going to multiply in this part here. And we're going to use the same mapping as the other texture maps that we baked. So when we scale it, they will scale together. Okay, world, and change this to the AO. And we can still use the normal map. So plug it to the normal. So the normal out input has a bunch of other nodes in it. So what you can do is actually you can see that the layering of the bump details. You can just connect it to the normal input of each normal detail. So from before, I think you can use vector math and set it to add, but right now you can just plug it to the normal. So you can layer it just like that. So with normal map, you can use the normal map in the vector, set it to color, and then plug it here. Okay, let's see the result. So the color, we're going to affect the color with the color first. Ring world displacement. Add color ramp. Color ramp. Set it here. So you might need a powerful PC to actually deal with displacement. uh, because it takes a lot of processing power. Okay. I think what's happening is we don't have this UV. Okay, marks theme, and then cut on the middle. Is it the middle? Okay, marks theme, and go to UV and uh, unwrap. It's the basic unwrap. Oh, unwrap. Okay, where's the basic unwrap? There we go. Did it follow the seams or not? Okay, so that is our texture. What is the this set is something like 16. So there's something wrong with the UV. Oh, I can't find they changed this, and I can't find the default unwrap function. Where is it? Oh my god, where is it? Smart UV projection unwraps selective face the mesh angle based unwraps being edited. Minimum stretch. Wait a minute. We have marked seam there. Let's see. Marked seam and then unwrap. Oh, okay. So yeah, going to use text tools to flatten this. Text tools, select this island here and bake UV layout, rectify. There we go. Rectify. And then UV, average island scale, pack islands. Do not rotate. There we go. Okay, so we're going back to the shader and see what's up. Okay, that's good. And set this to something like 24. There we go. And let's try to water down the effect of the texture. Okay. Why is it not working like that? Okay, let's do the displacement first. What we need to do is give it resolution in order for the topology, in order for the um, displacement to work. But when we first add the subdivision, you see that everything's kind of curved and softened because of the subdivision. We have to use simple, and then we need to add shadow to smooth the surface. So toggle the optimal display off so we can see the increase in the resolution. So compared to be compared to it being on, okay, and let's use you can use Control B in the viewport and then drag. And then this basically you basically create a small window in the viewport where that will only render that part. So it saves up on the resources. Okay, so the displacement, where is our displacement? Okay, zero point 0.5. So we need to find something that doesn't. There we go. Is it 0? We need to adjust the scale as well. So we just need to increase the resolution for the, there you go. And I'm going to adjust the location. Something like 6. So we need to do something about the texture. Well, you can mute the displacement by pressing M on the node and pressing M again to unmute it. So the viewport can be a bit faster if you're doing something or doing some changes to the shader that doesn't require the viewing of the displaced geometry. Probably because is it non-color? What if I take it off? Okay, the color is still there. So we have to solve this. Oh, it's the AO. Is it? No, it's not. I think it's the normal map. Wait, normal map. Yeah, it's the normal map. So, oh, I didn't change this to the normal map. Okay, change this to ring world normal. Okay, there we go. Now that fixes the effect of the texture. So let's make it subtle and then unmute the displacement. So everything's really dark. I think it's the AO and also the coupled with the displacement. Actually, let's not use the this one because we already have the AO texture map. There we go. So everything's lighter. And I'm just going to add the light to that. And let's just start it on. Actually, this is this actually has a really heavy footprint, the shader node. So if you're not, um, you can turn it off sometimes to lighten the scene, and only turn it on when you're ready to render. So 0.1. Okay. So something like 1000 for the size, 4000, and reduce the saturation something like 0.6, and the factor to 0.06, and scale of this to 40, the outer scale to 40. Okay, probably 20. And you can play around with the strength of the displacement to really break the profile of the shape or the profile of the model. Something like 25. There you go. And since you're probably going to render this at some distance, you can just avoid using too much resolution So so your scene won't be too heavy. So I think we can probably go with 4. You can see the if you go to close up, you can see that everything's really the fidelity is too low to actually give the details much shape, but that is enough for some when it is rendered at a distance. So let's go for 5, and okay, I think we have the dirt, and we're going to turn off the dirt and the cavity mask. There we go. And change our lighting for more drama. Okay, so we're making something, and that's not really going to be a really good mesh like all quads. We're doing something that's going to be used as a background asset for concept art or even movies. You can use HDRI to actually gauge what the model will look like in different lighting conditions. So I'm going to reduce this and just the texture or the effect of the texture. And wait a minute, whereas our AO, okay, that is our AO right there. Make this darker. There we go. So we can, let's go to film, set it to turn off the transparent background so we can see the background, and then in advanced in the HDRI Agafar add-on, uh, brightness and contrast set this to 0 so we can actually see the darkness of space and see this in the or see the model in the darkness of space, kind of like that. Okay, so for example, the sun is that away. Situations something lower. Okay, so we have our ring world. Now you can play around with the, you can save this, and then anytime you want to use this model for another for a project, you can just go to this blend file and Control C on the object, and then go to your other, or Control C or copy the object or mesh, and then go to your scene and then Control V there, and it will be pasted there along with uh, its modifiers and its shaders. But we need to make this lighter first, or I will show you how to make this lighter by applying the modifiers and then making it lighter using limited dissolve. Okay, so here you can just play around with the values to make a different. Actually, this looks good. To make different iterations of your model. Maybe in rotation. Don't touch rotation. So actually, this scale looks really good. We've been actually what was the last value? 20. This was too much, probably. But if you like that look, you can go for it. But again, changing the, you can see it's I think it's really good. You can see the effect here. You have the pipes, and yeah, we have the pipes. and all the other shapes. So this way, I think this is doing it this way is much more takes more steps, but you get a more believable geometry or shape or design using this workflow. Of course, using just geometry, using the randomized mesh is lighter, but you can still get the same effect as this. But I think the displacement way is much quicker, but uses more resources. So, for example, if we want to, oops, wait a minute, we can't really apply it because we're using the shader for the displacement. Okay. Hmm. There an applied visual geometry to mesh, convert selected visual transform. Okay. So we can't really, we should have used what do you call it, the displacement modifier. So let's use the displacement modifier on another version. So this is our shader version, and this will be our geometry displacement modifier version. So duplicate material so we don't affect the material of the original object right here. And then subdivision, small by angle. We're going to delete most of the effects we did because we're using basically using the displacement. So we'll delete this, the displacement modifier, the normal. We can still keep this just for texture effect on the surface or the display surface. So add modifier, deform, and displace, and set it up below the. Oh, you can set it up. You can set the actual modifiers below the geonode modifiers. Okay, so that's gonna be. Maybe we can just remove this first. Okay, so click this new image, and then click this icon here to go to the texture properties, and then select our ring world displacement and go back to the modifier and adjust the adjust the string. Oh no, just the mid level. Go back to the texture mapping. Yeah, the mapping is in here. Coordinates is UVs. Okay, direction is normal, and we need to set the size. Oops, click on this icon. Where's the size? Okay, crop size. There's no size here. That's calculation. There's another way. UVs. Since this is using UVs, we can just adjust the like I can't adjust the size of the UVs right here. There we go. There we go. And go to the modifiers, set the strength, and viewport level. There we go. Let's try and render this. So I think this is the texture, the shader. And we're going to adjust this as well, something like 5. There you go. Or something like 2. Okay. So this you can play around with the subdivision, displacement, and then the size of the UV map to affect the the look of the displacement. And after that, you can apply this. Just duplicate as a backup. Apply the modifiers. So you can do it using creative flow, apply mesh, or using W convert to mesh. W head key convert to mesh. Okay, and then we can reduce the resolution using not displacement, decimate. So something like 0.1. Wonder it will. I think it won't keep the UVs around, just to make it lighter. Okay, let's take a look at it. Okay, it still has the look, and you can still render this at a distance, and it still has uh, the, the geometry. So for this, we're going to use the ambient occlusion node right here, and um, control its intensity using color ramp node. Okay, then you can apply this, and then use it on your scene, which is a lighter equivalent of this one here. So you can save this, and then anytime you want to use this for your scene, you can just go back here and then change some of the settings. You have two options. You have displacement by shader and displacement by modifier. So just select Alt H. Just select the one that you need. So with this one, you can just delete this because we don't need it anymore. And then save this. Then you can go back and select one of these two, and the one that you need for your scene. So the displacement by shader actually looks really good. And you can see that we used 5 for here instead of 6, and let's use 4. Okay, we can actually get away with 3, and the geometry still looks good. And this is the resolution. And the closer you go, or you render this in your scene, you can just uh, you can just increase the resolution to increase the detail, the fidelity of the detail. And also, you need to when you're ready to render this, you need to match the render values of the subdivision to the levels, or the levels viewport value. Okay, it's because when you render this, you might render this at 2. So this is what it looks like at 2 subdivision. Okay, so you need to match these values up, and also you need to take a look at simplify. You might want to check if this is toggled on, because if this is toggled on, there's the default limit is 6, so we're still covered by that. But of course, when you forget that you've set this to 4, and of course, there we go. So just check this, if this is toggle on, and what values you have for the max subdivision. Okay, so that's it. This is another iteration of the ring world, and I think it really looks good using just baked the baked texture maps. So I will be updating Dribble Bake as well, and getting rid of the black um the black bake. Sometimes it bakes like a black texture, and you need to apply the rotation and scale. So I'm going to change that and automatically apply the rotation and scale once you bake to avoid that error. Okay, let's compare the two side by side. So which one do you think looks good? This is by shader, and this is by geometry. I think for me the displacement by shader looks better. And also you can use the ambient occlusion and other normal and the normal map texture besides the displacement. And for the geometry, you can only just use the uh, displacement map texture. Okay. So this is it for this video, and I hope you learned something new about how to use the add-ons. Visit the store if you're interested in this type of modeling, and also subscribe and hit notify. If you have any questions, just the comment section or the links in the description. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.